This one reminds me of Halo Reach. Boom! Good morning and welcome everybody to the Crypto Mining Show, your one-stop shop for all cryptocurrency news from the perspective of a cryptocurrency miner. I go by Matthew in real life, Matthew on the internet, as well as on the internet now these days, and Blind Run in real life as well these days, but mostly on the internet. So today we're going to be taking a look at all the Cbdc news that is coming out. There's a ton of it. We have Central Bank of Israel, Norway, and Sweden all teaming up to basically create a retail Cbdc. We have more news on the digital euro. And of course, we have a bunch of regulation coming in to coincide with all of it, including regulations in California that are targeting a bunch of different cryptocurrencies. Some of them may surprise you. We are also going to be talking about some memeing and, of course, the latest 13900K benchmark scores that were leaked, along with, of course, a little bit of, this beauty back here, the 7950X that we did get tested. So if you're interested in the testing that was just done, please check out the video. Yes, hash rate videos are not doing as good. I get it. Maybe you're not that interested, but I think that there are some interesting things that you may learn about some coins that I learned about that I didn't realize were as profitable as maybe you just might not know that they're as profitable for the CPUs, as they are. They're definitely, like, CPU mining is looking, in my humble opinion, more profitable than GPU mining by and large. There's more options. They're less obvious, and that is kind of the path that it goes. Caspa did complete its first hard fork, so we'll talk about that. And then we have some minor releases that we'll get into as well. And at the end of the show, we'll just review, of course, right now, as far as Ergo goes, we're just going to review what pools are supporting EIP-37 and kind of the status on that. And we'll try to, throughout the week, just kind of touch base with Ergo, see where it's at and all that. I did want to say, look, here's the deal. It's not my job to babysit your favorite crypto project and do everything for them. It's my job to report on cryptocurrency, okay? So don't get that confused. If I report on a problem, it's not my responsibility to fix that problem. I do the news for cryptocurrency, all right? So let's not get it twisted. We all have our roles here. My role is very clear. I work very hard at my role. I don't have hours on end to fix your crypto project, all right? I just feel like that needs to be said. Let's get into all of that and more right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services, including trading and even staking, to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. Bada bing, bada boom. Let's pop right into new miner releases. Starting with basically the oldest one that's released it since the previous show, and then going through to the newest one. We have a new SRB miner 1.0.9, and this was released yesterday. Some notes is they added the algorithm for pufferfish 2 BMB. I like to say bomb because it feels like it's a bomb, but it really stands for bamboo, because bamboo is the coin we are referencing here, and that is for the Polaris and Vega cards. So they've added support for Polaris and Vega cards. That being said, it's nowhere near CPU, basically CPU efficiency, right? For example, you know, on an RX 5700 or something along those lines, you're talking like, or here's one, RX 580 Polaris, 800 hash a second at 60 watts, right? You compare that to like the 7950X that we just ran here, 4000 hash a second at 300 watts. It's not really even a competition at this point, but it is nice to see that somebody is working on that, I suppose. There is a performance increase as well on SHA 512 256D Radiant. Of course, that's for the Radiant coin, which is the ticker RXD. We've talked about that on sonofatech.locals.com before we talked about it on the show. And then, of course, we talked about it on the show here. They reworked the ZIL mining modes, and they added automatic caching of ZIL DAG for ET hash and ETC hash plus ZIL, if GPU has enough VRAM to hold both DAGs, that is. And then they added nice hash compatibility for Varus hash, and they added the parameter disable auto affinity and some various other bug fixes. It has basically some examples here that you can go check out by clicking the link in the description for how you may dual mine ZIL or ZIL with any other algorithm, which obviously in today's, you know, crypto mining scene, being able to mine it with something other than ET hash or ETC hash is going to be important. They even have it to the point of being able to do it with ZIL and Caspa, or ZIL and Radiant, or even triple mining ETC, ZIL and Radiant. Lots of different options here. Multi-mining is obviously something that is advantageous coming into the winter months. I'll be doing more testing on this in the winter months when I have some, basically just some better temperatures to do it with. Everything I try right now is kind of, it feels like the, you know, the entire point is defeated. Like I can't actually get any relevant testing done just because of how hot it is. We're starting to cool down. In the evenings, things are getting nicer. So maybe I can stay up late or wake up really early, get some testing done from that perspective, because we are starting to get down into the 60s in the evening. So that's kind of something that I've been looking at adjusting my schedule for. Of course, that is a lot of work and that's a lot of commitment, but that's what we're here for. I'm committed to the channel and, of course, providing you guys with as much information as I can gather. So that's part of the information I'm looking at trying to gather here as soon as possible. Now we have another release from WildRig. and this is version 32.4, and they've improved SHA-512-256D, which is for Radiant, even further. Yesterday we talked about one upgrade they did to improve it, and now it's improved even further, up to 12% improvement on AMD, so that's nothing to scoff at. Now, within margin of error, arguably on NVIDIA with a 2% increase, but you know, if you're running AMD, you probably want to compare this. Obviously, we have two new miners basically increasing hash rates for SHA-512-256D. So some comparisons, contrast comparison between SRB miner and Wild Rig is probably warranted here to a certain extent. And it's pretty crazy the amount of support that's coming out for Radiant now from the mining perspective. You know, usually in the past, and I think this is a good relevant change, in my humble opinion, that we started to see across the board with just crypto mining in general since the kind of merge of Ethereum is, you know, mining software, mining pools, etc. are starting to support smaller coins a lot quicker. Now, of course, can this be dangerous? Yes. Even the larger coins that we expected, you know, to perform well and so on post-merge had some issues, and it's not basically guaranteed that if there is support from mining software developers or a mining pool or anything along those lines that the project is going to be successful. It's just nice to see that support starting to get spread out more and more work being done. You know, we're in a bear market. Like I've said before, in a bear market, you want to sit down, you want to put the work in. And I really see that happening in the community right now, and I think it's fantastic. Now, finally, we have one more release, and it is coming from Gminer. This is version 3.06. Now, they added AutoLeakos, so they've been a little bit behind, I suppose, but added AutoLeakos 2 for Ergo for NVIDIA GPUs, and they fixed some memory leaks on Ravencoin, so maybe it's interesting to go look at this for Ravencoin. I don't know what those memory leaks were in particular, but, you know, seeing some fixes here from Gminer and seeing some added support for AutoLeakos 2. My humble opinion, Gminer seems to be a little bit behind the 8 ball here. You know, most of the, you know, Ergo support, even if, sure, okay, maybe it's supported just like AMD only, but look, here's the deal. Most of the Ergo support was added long before the merge. So I just consider that to be a little bit behind. But still, like I said, good to see updates. Glad they're working on it. Then we had a hard fork. So a hard fork just happened yesterday. Well, today, late night today for Caspa. If you guys weren't aware, version 12.7 was released. And basically, if you just had to update to 12.7 before the hard fork took place. And now the hard fork is basically full on in, you know, functioning. And last I heard on the Discord from Mr. M. Sutton, at this time, less than 1% of miners did not upgrade. So good job, guys, out there. You know, from the miners' perspective, this is super impressive. This isn't, you don't see, I mean, frankly, you don't see this kind of thing happen too often where you see like less than 1% having an issue. You know, like you look at something like Ergo and you had like participation, you know, around 60%. So, you know, this is super good. I think overall, taking a look at that is fantastic. Here's the security patch. It was for a security fix, to be clear. And that is pretty much how it landed. Here's the block explorer. And then basically this went through at a DAA score of 279.05000. And you can see the virtual DAA score right here at the 279.31810. And that is where we are at. All right, so let's go ahead and get into leaks and hardware news. We have the Intel Core i9 13900KS has been tested in CPU-Z, and I can show you guys a little bit of a comparison with the 7950X that I had and we ran yesterday on CPU-Z just to get an idea for comparison. But at Innovation 2022, Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger confirmed the company will launch its first 6 gigahertz desktop processor next year. This 13th gen Core SKU, most likely called Core i9-13900KS, will be a pre-binned chip, and it will be limited in volume. Such a CPU could be responsible to AMD's upcoming Ryzen 7000X3D series. So over at Bilibee, there is a screenshot from CPU-Z software supposedly showing the rumored 13900KS processor in action. It would appear that somebody has tested this processor in both single and multi-core CPU-Z tests, and the single-threaded score is a whopping, guys, 982.5. Like, there's just something weird going on here, boys, because the 7950X is already a massive improvement over anything else that's currently available on the market. We're talking multi-threaded performance as well, from my testing being like basically server-grade CPU, but with like fast single-threaded performance. It's just nuts, right? It's simply insane, as WCCF Tech would say. I'm super impressed with the 7950X. And then this leak comes out and I'm like, okay, I thought the 7950X was good, but holy moly guacamole, 982 on a single-threaded and 18,453 on a multi-threaded. Now, is this for sure? No, of course, this is a leak. But if it is true, then compared to essentially a Ryzen or the new Ryzen 7950X, it's crazy, right? So if we look at the Ryzen 7 7950X, the single-threaded score that I got was 808. And the multi-threaded was 15,666. Now, where does Intel essentially have an advantage here? Well, it has an advantage because of the P cores and the E cores, right? Specifically the E cores, the efficiency cores. What you'll notice, just to be clear, is right here, this number is 18.78. What that is essentially your multi-thread ratio. So per core, technically it does look, because basically, to explain this, because the efficiency cores don't operate at the high, frequency of the performance cores, essentially what you have here is technically per core, right? AMD is outperforming Intel here. But, if you were going to look at performance core versus any core on AMD, it's technically better on Intel. It's just the total thread count on Intel benefits from this performance core, efficiency core kind of setup, which also, to be frank, doesn't necessarily work in every single application, right? Or every single like operating system and so on, as opposed to like on the AMD side here, because it's a little bit more traditional in its architecture, it's going to support a lot more broadly. So there is kind of that give and take between, of course, the new Intel offering as it's coming out with the 13900K and the 7950X. But these numbers are simply insane. I'm, like I said, I've been super impressed with the 7950X. Obviously, some things that I may be working on today is efficiency. I think a little bit later, testing efficiency. I just saw Tech Yes City launched a video on how to bring those temperatures and those voltages down. So I'm going to go follow his video and see how that translates into mining specifically. Because if we can get more efficient on this, then it becomes more appealing, right? But as it sits right now, the efficiency, if you go watch my review, is not exactly where we would like to see it. Now, I do have a meme for the day. I hope you guys enjoy memes. And it's a crypto mining meme. And it actually is kind of like, I don't know. I think it like fits the channel perfectly here. So I was like, we'll share it with you guys. And it's the classic picture of the apartment building where essentially there's snow on either side for the listeners, and then in the center the snow is melted away, implying that there is some heat being generated in that particular apartment unit. And it says 2018 weed grower. and 2020 crypto miner, and for 2022 lottery winner. Obviously, with the pipeline and the increase in energy costs globally due to the conflict in Ukraine, to heat your home, you will have to win the lottery this year is kind of the joke there. Unfortunately, I don't think it's a joking matter. I do think that it's something that's going to be detrimental to, the overall population. And my heart does go out to the people that aren't going to be able to afford, basically heating their homes, surviving, right? And I hope that there is a way that basically, I know the UK is going to be struggling with it. I hope that there is some sort of government subsidy to take care of this. Obviously, these are crazy times and I don't know where it's going to go. I just hope that everybody lives through it. I don't know either way, why it's I'm not going to argue over why it's happening. I can just tell you what we're being told, and it definitely looks like that'll be the case at this point, right? So anyways, kind of a funny meme, but then kind of circling it back and being a little bit more serious about it and realistic. Just like I said, I hope everybody is doing good. And on that note too, a shout out to like Hawk Crypto Mining and of course Serpent XSF over there in Florida with the current hurricane situation. Thoughts, prayers, whatever you guys want to send to them, right? However you want to send it to them, right? You can use your whatever version that doesn't trigger you. You guys get the idea. Send them some good vibes, that sort of thing. And hopefully, I hope you guys are doing good. If you guys need anything, let me know. I'll try to do my best to help out if I can. And I hope you get your rigs and farms back online and there's no water damage to any of your silicon. So there you go. Let's talk about California now. California regulator targets 11 crypto firms as Ponzi's. All right. So, California's financial regulator is targeting 11 crypto companies, alleging they stole customer funds for operated like Ponzi schemes. The latest enforcement actions were announced by the DFPI in a Tuesday press release. The DFPI is filing cease and desist order against Elevate Pass LLC, MetaFi Yielders, and 9 other crypto firms. They allege that these companies were misappropriating customer funds or violating state securities law. Quote, each of the 11 entities allegedly offered and sold unqualified securities, and 10 of them also made material misrepresentations and omissions to investors, end quote, the regulator says in a press release. The entities are all alleged to have used investor funds to pay profits to other investors in a manner of a Ponzi scheme. None of the entities targeted by California, none of the entities targeted by California, the regulator, have shared comments yet regarding the cease and desist orders. So basically, they're saying none of the entities have shared it. That was a little bit of a grammatical error there for Watcher Guru, but that's okay. California authorities also filed a lawsuit against crypto lender Nexo just 24 hours ago. They allege that its EARN product was violating securities law. Consequently, this adds to the state's series of targeting crypto companies with scrutiny. The DFPI will continue to protect California consumers and investors from crypto scams and fraud, says DFPI Commissioner Clothild Hewlett. Quote, these actions not only protect consumers, but also ensure California remains the premier global location for responsible crypto asset companies to start and grow. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and say this, California, but you're over-regulating to the point, and also your power costs are so bad that, frankly, I don't think that California will be the hub for even Silicon Valley in the near future. And when you put this amount of pressure on people, it just means that people are going to move and leave your state, right? That's already happening. At least in the area I'm in, it seems like every other day I meet somebody new that's moved from California. They can either no longer afford to be there, is worried about the security and safety of their family due to basically the lawlessness that's going around, or frankly is just fed up with everything, that all the taxes that they have to pay, right? And that sort of thing. So, and all the regulations that surround it. So, you know, from my perspective and from the people that I talk to on a daily basis, I don't think that California will be the premier global location for responsible, maybe for, I don't know, for responsible asset. I think companies to start and grow. I just don't think it will be anymore. That's my humble opinion in 2 cents. And I think that in particular, basically this type of attitude towards crypto companies is also going to further that my case. Now, I realize that there's an argument for regulating securities and so on, but where does this problem actually, why is this a problem in a manner in which they're doing it? Well, they need to be defined as securities, and securities need to be defined and clear to the people before you start just coming down on them with restrictions and you know, legal proceedings, right? Clearly define before attacking, I suppose, is the best way I could put it. Now, CBDCs are everywhere, my friends. CBDCs are everywhere. At this point, you know, I'll be honest with you. I did not see this coming as fast as it's coming, right? I saw it coming. We've been seeing it coming for a while. We've been talking about it for a couple of years. We kind of started getting wind of it with China implementing theirs. And then we kind of started seeing talks of like Western countries doing it. It was kind of like, okay, interesting. And then just more and more, it's like, bam, bam, bam. Every single country is starting to deploy a CBDC. And for the uninitiated, CBDC is short for central bank digital currency. It essentially means a federal government or a nation state controlled currency. Of course, what this does is basically kind of, in my humble opinion, go the opposite direction of what you would want to do with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency would remove, of course, the interference of banks and governments. The idea, though, is that you further decentralize it, so you're putting it into the hands of the public, right? The direction it's going now is centralizing it further. Basically, essentially, at the end of the day, what we'll see is all the nation states controlling each individual currency and no banks, or banks no longer being needed at the end of the day, really, if we're being completely honest about it, right? So we're centralizing the control of the economy into the hands of the government, who, frankly, you know, if we look at like the economy across the globe right now, or the economies across the globe, various ones, right? Doesn't look like they're handling it that well. So why would we want to trust them with this? Either way, I guess it really doesn't matter because they're going to do it whether we like it or not. Let me take a sip of this delicious, delicious drink and go from there. Digital euro could be more popular beyond EU's borders. Now, this is an interesting one, and I think this applies to U.S. as well, right? Which we'll talk about as we go through this. But authorities in the EU, U.S., and other jurisdictions need to compare notes on central bank digital currencies to regulate them better, according to the ECB chief. A digital euro could well be more popular beyond the European Union's borders, according to the European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde. The digital version of the euro should be borderless, and it should be regulated and properly supervised, Lagarde said, responding to a question while speaking at the Atlantic Council Frankfurt Forum on U.S.-European geoeconomics on Wednesday. But it can't facilitate cross-border payments, facilitate cross-border payments in a big way, which is why between the United States authorities, the European authorities, and others beyond that, we need to compare notes, she said. The ECB is halfway through a 2-year investigation into a digital euro for retail payments, and although it has yet to make a decision on issuing one, the EU Commission responsible for proposing new legislation is preparing a digital euro bill. The ECB has also picked 5 payment providers to work on prototypes for digital euro apps. Although Lagarde did not directly address the implications of a digital euro potentially being adopted by a country as an official currency in the same way that El Salvador and Ecuador use the US dollar, the ECB has previously addressed the risks of currency substitution associated with the digital euro when used beyond EU borders. Similar design features would have to be applied to use a digital euro by non-residents. This would stop a digital euro replacing other forms of investment and facilitating currency substitution in countries outside the euro area, Fabio Panetta, an ECB executive board member, said in a 2021 speech. In any event, international cooperation on design, cross-border use, and interoperability would be key to reap the potential benefits of CBDCs for cross-border payments while addressing risks to the international financial system. Responding to a question on why EU residents would be interested in a digital euro when digital payments are already widespread in the bloc, where cash usage is on the decline, Lagarde reiterated the ECB's stance that a central bank digital currency should be something the ECB should be ready to make available if people want it. Now, obviously, if people want it is a curious question. And then we do have, obviously, with everything that's come about with like stable coins primarily based around the US dollar and the access of stable coins to essentially anybody in the entire world, it does provide an interesting problem for a lot of nation states, right? Or a lot of different countries, because you basically have this position or are in this position where your currency is not the desired currency. Why? Because the reserve currency is and always has been the US dollar. So if all of your citizens essentially exchange your currency for a stable coin based on the US dollar, then obviously that provides essentially destabilization within your own economy. And yes, I think that from an investment standpoint, if you do move towards a CBDC and you don't have essentially restrictions, based around who can and cannot purchase it, then you do end up in a position where it can destabilize other economies or even the economy that it is participating within. But that's kind of what's supposed to happen with cryptocurrency. So when I do read this, I do think I shift my position a tad because I'm always thinking about things, right? And there are clear advantages to a CBDC that could come about from a CBDC, right? Specifically, these kind of the access to stronger currencies for individuals in other countries. The thing is, though, right, if we look at if these countries, like if the US would allow this type of activity, and the answer may be no. I think the US will, because of the strength of the dollar is based on other people, basically other countries purchasing the dollar. But I don't think the US would allow for, for example, the EU to do the same thing, if that makes sense. But if the EU did, or globally CBDCs allowed pretty much anybody cross-border to, purchase them, then we end up in a position where maybe there is some advantage to a CBDC, right? And this is kind of me thinking. Let me know what you think in the comments section below, as well as the live chat. Now, we have a ton of other CBDCs coming out too, but we have some partnerships as well. So you have the central banks of Israel, Norway, and Sweden teaming up now to explore a retail CBDC. Results of the project, run by the Bank of International Settlements, are expected in the first quarter of 2023. The central banks of Israel, Norway, and Sweden have teamed up with the Bank for International Settlements to explore how central bank digital currencies can be used for international retail and remittance payments, BIS announced on Wednesday. The BIS is an association of 61 central banks from around the world and has innovation hubs set up in multiple locations focused on exploring the applications of new financial technologies, including CBDCs, which are digital versions of countries' sovereign currencies. The new collaboration, called Project Icebreaker, involves the BIS Innovation Hub's Nordic Center, and it will test key features and technical aspects of interlinking different domestic CBDC systems, according to a press statement. Cross-border payments continue to be plagued by high cost, low speed, limited access, and insufficient transparency, BIS said. The International Monetary Fund has said CBDCs could cut costs for international payments, while earlier this week, the BIS Innovation Hub announced the success of a project involving multiple Asian CBDCs that facilitated over $22 million in foreign exchange transactions. Project Icebreaker will test near-instant retail CBDC payments across borders at lower costs. A final report on the project is expected in the first quarter of 2023. Quote, this is a first-of-a-kind experiment. Will dig deeper, or this first-of-a-kind experiment, will dig deeper into the technology, architecture, and design choices and trade-offs and explore related policy questions, end quote, said Behu San, or Shaw, head of BIS Innovation Hub Nordic Center. These learnings will be invaluable for central banks thinking about implementing CBDCs for cross-border payments. Project Icebreaker will test near-instant retail CBDC payments across borders at lower costs. A final report on the project is expected in the first quarter of 2023, like we read earlier. And it just basically repeats the same thing that is talking about. So what is the BIS? Should we be concerned about them controlling all of the CBDCs? And to a certain extent, yes. So we're going to flip on you, of course. We talked about, where could we see some benefits from a CBDC? Cross-border payments, basically destabilizing nation states and giving power to the individual for these cross-border payments. But then, bing, bang, boom, what do we see? We see this bank for international settlements kind of controlling the research for CBDCs. And at the end of the day, we see further centralization, not just down to the federal government of the geographical location that you decide to live in, but now, on top of that, basically a single entity that controls basically an association of 61 different central banks. So you're consolidating all of this technology that CBDCs will be built on into essentially one entity. Further centralization, going the opposite direction of what I would prefer personally, as it adheres to, of course, the principles of cryptocurrency as set forth in the white paper for Bitcoin, and of course, as set forth in basically manifestos like the Cypherpunk Manifesto. So this is kind of where I sit as far as it goes, but I want to give all the sides to all the stories so that everybody is up to date as much as possible and try to treat it as fairly and make my biases known as clearly as possible. That's what I try to do here. Anyways, let's talk about EIP-37. And of course, a bias here. I am pro EIP-37. EIP-37, of course, for the Ergo blockchain is going to essentially reduce the time between difficulty adjustments by 87%. And that is basically taking it down from 1,024 blocks every 8 epochs to 128 blocks every 8 epochs. And of course, that shortens the amount of time that the average hash rate is basically calculated to. So as opposed to going all the way back 2 weeks to where you had that 250 terahash on the Ergo network basically being calculated into the difficulty adjustment, even all the way up to today, you will basically have a shorter time and it won't take that into account, which means the difficulty will adjust quicker and hopefully down further. Now, there were limits, of course, put into place where there is a 50% cap on this sort of adjustment to make sure that it doesn't go too wildly quickly down and up. That should, in theory, I think from my understanding when reading the EIP, is to help prevent some gamification of the system. We'll just have to see how it plays out. I'm not a developer. I didn't write the EIP. I've just read it and interpreted it to the best of my ability. If I have something wrong, definitely let me know in the comment section or the live chat as far as that is concerned. But the big thing that you need to take into account as a miner is which pools are voting yes and which pools are voting no. And the fact of the matter is right now, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think anybody really is going to vote no. In fact, I think pretty much we can determine by this sheet for EIP-37 support that is being maintained by the devs over at Ergo that we are, it looks like we're already above 90%, really, to be completely honest. And I don't see EIP-37 not being passed. Support so far, 2miners.com is a yes. Nanopool is a yes, and Hero Miners is a yes. Now, of course, we go to mining pool stats, we'll kind of start to get you guys the idea here. But essentially, if we look up Ergo at this time and the kind of the hash rate distribution across the pools, you know, 2miners is in first place, Nanopool in second, Hero Miners in third. Pretty much a majority of the hash rate already right there. Now, of course, it does require 90%, so a super majority, but I don't think that that will be a problem, right? 2miners solo, of course, that's part of 2miners. It's going to be supported. Woolly Pool also said yes, right? So only really two large pools, Fly Pool and Rich Pool, are not basically, have not said basically if they're going to or not support it. ErgoMiners.com is a yes. Now, GetBlock, of course, they're going to allow individual miners to vote. Go follow them on Twitter. So if you want to vote no, I think like getblock.io is going to be your best voice for that. Obviously, I love what GetBlock does. I think GetBlock is revolutionary and a very, very just look, GetBlock's done things that no other mining pool's ever done from the perspective of smart pools and miner voting, all that. I still think you should support GetBlock over pretty much any other mining pool on Ergo. That's my humble opinion. Yes, they have some API issues, and unfortunately, because of the difficulty, they don't find any blocks right now, really, many, if at all, and they've kind of always had those issues. It's just in my idealistic world, you know, the idea of basically being able to allow miners to individually vote, I think is super important. And I want to make sure that GetBlock gets the props for that, okay? Other than that, ErgoMiners.com, support yes. CoBarrett.com, support yes. Cool to Mine, support yes. K1 Pool, yes. MiningCrypto.live, yes. Whalesburg.com, pool, yes. K1Pool.com, yes. Fairhash.org, yes. RKDN.app is a yes. MineErgo.com is a yes. Skypool is a yes. MiningCrypto.live is a yes. And basically a public IP here is a yes as well. So these are essentially all of the pools that are voting yes. It does look like it's pretty close to, if not already, you know, a super majority. I don't think it, can I edit this? No, I can't edit this, but maybe we could copy this. Or we could export. I'll do the math for you guys and then try to give you an update later on. I really honestly think, let's see. So if we do 7, 11, you know, 11, 15, 16, 17. We're getting pretty close. To 90%. I'll have to add all the other pools in though. We're definitely getting very, very close to 90% at this point. So if you want to vote for it, obviously you have the pools that are available. Pretty much every pool at this point that has announced support for EIP-37. So if you are against EIP-37, I think your best bet, in my humble opinion, is going to be either mining to your own node, right? Or mining to GetBlock and utilizing their voting system to cast a vote in against, right? This is where we're at with the voting on Ergo. So with all that out of the way, let's get into mining profitability right after a word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is Crypto.com. Crypto.com is my go-to centralized exchange for liquidating my crypto assets. With their Crypto.com Visa debit card, I can load up my mined Ethereum to pay for power and other operating costs. In addition to the Visa debit card, there are additional fiat options, including wire transfers, to easily receive your profits. Crypto.com also offers additional services, including trading and even staking, to earn additional revenue on your investments. Join 10 million plus users buying and selling 100 plus cryptocurrencies at true cost by using my affiliate link in the description for a $25 funding bonus. Or enter referral code SOAT at sign up for the same bonus. Remember, cryptocurrency investment comes with significant risks, so do your own research. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, making good time today. And thanks everybody that stopped by today for basically, a show at an irregular time. Don't worry, we should be back on schedule tomorrow, but we were up late testing the 7950X, which was highly enjoyable. And hopefully I'll get some more testing on that done today as well. But let's go ahead and hit the defaults. Let me get the RTX 3090 into play here. Let's correct ZIL hash and kapow and progpow and Firo proof of work, and then calculate that baby out at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. And right now, according to What to Mine, I guess you're losing the least amount of money on ZIL hash. So Flux, it looks like, at 20 cents a day after power, if you're going through nice hash. And then kind of following that up, a lot of this is going to be dependent on power, because it's all about the amount that you're losing, right? At the end of the day, you kind of got Xano here at losing 26 cents a day after power. Cero losing 28 cents a day after power. Neoxa losing 31 cents a day after power. Ravencoin losing 34 cents a day after power. Conflux losing 35 cents a day after power. Grin losing 27 cents a day after power. Caspa losing 39% after power. And then Bitcoin Z losing 28 cents a day after power. Ryo losing 22 cents a day after power. Firo losing 36 cents a day after power. You guys are starting to see the trend, I'm sure, but Vertcoin also losing 23 cents a day after power. Scrolling down, Conceal still in the negative. Ethereum proof of work is in the negative by like 42 cents a day after power. Ethereum Classic still just getting hammered by the ASICs, down to basically 44 cents a day after power. It's the grim times, my friends, and what you got to be looking for. Like I said, my personal strategy is looking for things that are not listed on What to Mine. Preferably haven't even been listed on an exchange yet. These are the things I'm looking for. And the reason for that is because, at this point, I think everything that's going to be on What to Mine, as soon as profitability kicks in, you got too many profitability switchers, especially with HiveOS adding it. You got NiceHash that's adding more and more algorithms, even to the point to where on CPU they added VerisHash. Because VerisHash was profitable here for a little bit. It's kind of gone non-profitable again because, NiceHash added to the algorithm. So anything that's like within profitability switching API pools is essentially not going to be profitable, with pretty much zero hope of being profitable, right? This is why... And I think, definitely go follow Rapid Mining, but for CPU mining, because it's not necessarily my forte. But I do think this is why CPU mining is a little bit more profitable right now, is because there are less resources for CPU mining and finding, profitability calculators, etc. Right? I think like even Rapid Mining has the most robust one, and it doesn't even have that much, right? So when you're talking about mining right now, what you're looking for, like I said, things that aren't listed on What to Mine for sure, probably aren't listed on an exchange or on Mining Pool Stats even. Mining Pool Stats is still a pretty good place to find it, but I think the best place is like miner releases, that sort of thing. Still, that strategy I think is kind of where I'm at. I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions. Is this kind of what you're looking for? Are you taking some moonshots on like completely non-listed, only over-the-counter tradable kind of currencies? And how's your luck been with that sort of thing, right? let's take a look at the hash rates, of course, on the networks. At this time, you got, Ergo at 23.67 terahash a second on the pools, or being reported by the pools, about 25 terahash a second on the network total. It's about down 50% from, basically half of what it was pre-merge. So unfortunately, it hasn't taken any hash rate off of the merge. Ethereum Classic still sitting around 170 terahash a second. We kind of saw it drop over the past week, and I would expect to see it drop a little bit more. Most of that hash rate, like we've seen, have gone to two places: Ethereum Proof of Work, because what we're looking at is essentially ASICs, which is currently at 52 terahash a second, no change since yesterday, and Ethereum Fair, which is up to 10 terahash a second right now, reported, and has gone up here recently as well. So over the past week, it's pretty clear, you can almost see it on the chart. Ethereum Classic starts to drop off right around here on September 24th, right? We start to pick up on September 24th on Ethereum Proof of Work, and we start to pick up on Ethereum Fair on September 25th, really kind of 24th as well. So all this hash rate that's coming off Ethereum Classic, we can see where it's going. Proof of Work and Fair, that's where it's headed right now. Does that mean that, you should be looking at Ethereum Proof of Work or Ethereum Fair? Not necessarily, right? There's still some questions about, who's behind them, that sort of thing. Not dissimilar, though, if we're being completely fair, not really dissimilar from Ethereum Classic, because really the big push behind Ethereum Classic is coming from Bitmain, if we're being completely honest and about the situation right now. But, Ethereum Proof of Work, once again, that's going to be Chandler Go. Ethereum Fair, that's going to be Justin Sun with the Apollo NEX exchange. So that's kind of the backing behind that. But that is kind of how all of this Ethereum hash rate is getting pushed around and moved around, right? After that, of course, we do have Flux to take a look at. I think its peak was 8 mega solutions a second here over the past week. It looks like it is sitting right around that still, 7.84 mega solutions a second, kind of holding pretty steady. It is down over the past week by about 9-10%. We had that big dump yesterday. It was definitely, pretty rough, I think, for everybody as far as that is concerned. And then Ravencoin. Let's go ahead and take a look at Ravencoin. It is at 18.32 terahash a second. It has come down over the past week from its kind of peak for the week at 19, almost 20 terahash a second. And then we have Neox, which we can take a look at, which is sitting around 2.16 terahash a second and is down about 17% over the past week. And then a couple of the smaller ones as well, along with Neox. So we got Caspa at 204 terahash a second, seeing this dip from the kind of push to help Ergo out. And then finally, I think all we have after that is Radiant that we've been tracking. And some hash rates falling off of Radiant. It's come back down to about 42 terahash a second. Now, it is still up over the past 7 days at 58%, but it did drop below basically a tenth of a penny. So there you go. As far as all of that is concerned. Now, profitability on mining pools for Ethereum Classic over the past 90 days, ZET in first, Crazy Pool in second, Ether Mine in third. For the past 60 days, Crazy Pool in first, Ether Mine in second, 2 miners in third. For the past 30 days, Crazy Pool in first, ZET in second, Ether Mine in third. For the past 21 days, ZET in first, Crazy Pool in second, Ether Mine in third. For the past 14 days, ZET in first, Crazy Pool in second, Ether Mine in third. For the past 7 days, ZET in first, Crazy Pool in second, Crux Pool in third. For the last 3 days, we have Crazy Pool in first, ZET in second, and Hivon Pool in third. And for the past day, we have Crazy Pool in first, ZET in second, and Mining Pool Hub in third. And then ASIC miner profitability, as we always like to check. I'm going to bet, yep, Antminer L7 still in first place. It did drop back below $16 a day to $15.43 a day. We have the Antminer D7 in second place, mining Dash at $15.07 a day. Actually, quite a surprising second place overtake by the Antminer D7. And then in third place, we have the iPolo V1 on something called ETF, which is Ethereum Fair. Pretty profitable. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Then, scrolling down. The Gold Shell HS3 at 673 a day. We have the Gold Shell KD6 at 574 a day. We have the Antminer Z15 at 455 a day. And then scrolling down from there, we have the KD5 at 285 a day and the S19 Pro still under $3 a day, really and realistically under $2 a day. And it's more profitable on BSV, which has been kind of a new coin that I've been looking at, or not a new coin, I guess like a coin that I've been looking at because it's recently been being talked about, and I think might be something to take a look at there. Things that make you go, Things that make you go, right? Yeah. I mean, like what? If we look at, let's look at the 3090 here. Might as well click it, right? Would you look at that? Yeah, there you go. It is what it is till it isn't. You know what I mean, boys? You're basically mining the sketchiest fork of Ethereum on the sketchiest pool. Mining the sketchiest fork of Ethereum on the sketchiest pool. And on the 3090, technically only losing 4 cents a day, which makes it the least, or you lose the least amount. Kind of curious what something like this looks like. Interesting. That's the first. Okay, so that is the first, basically, I think, positive that we've seen this week in profitability. And RTX 3070 making 5 cents a day on a calculator on Ethereum Fair through F2 pool. Interesting. There you go. That's all she wrote. Let's go ahead and get into questions and answers for the day. Remember, super chats are never required. Always appreciate first to be answered because they're the easiest to read. Tagging @SonOfATech will highlight the message orange, basically making it easier for me to see. And then in addition to that, of course, if you would like to support the channel, hitting the like button down below will definitely do that and help me out the most, as well as hitting the share button if you find the content valuable. Obviously, today's a pretty low viewership. We'll have to see exactly why. It looks like maybe nobody's interested in CBDCs. And I don't blame you. You know what I mean? I don't blame them. However, I hope you guys got some good content and information out of the show today. Those of you that were kind enough to stop by for the day. Now, DK7988 had done some real fast math and said the top 5 pools on the list are basically currently at 71% of the hash rate. Is a yes. Now, I think we need to add up all of them, but obviously a 90% supermajority, getting closer to that. We'll have to wait and see what's going on there. John says, @SonOfATech, why did you choose the 7950X over the 7900X? Primarily because of the cache. So the 7950X has the most amount of cache, and the theory is like, well, and here's kind of the deal that I'll tell you all. As far as the 7950X goes, or the 7000 series with Ryzen goes in general, it's not like the other. It's not like the other previous generations where you could almost predict the scaling of the hash rate per SKU based on the hash rate of one CPU. Why is that? Wildly differing base clocks, wildly differing boost clocks, and wildly differing cache layouts. So I feel like if we really wanted to actually figure out what the best was and all that, I think you have to test each one. I don't think that you're going to be able to do it without testing each one. Slow day, boys. Well, if you guys don't got questions, I do not mind taking it slow for me today. It's been a rough night. I didn't sleep a lot. Gamer Kid, thanks for the $2.99 super chat. None of us deserve anything, my friend, but we are all here. Shio says, that's having tech, not your keys, not your crypto. I got scammed to reveal my seed phrase and I lost what I had in my wallet. It wasn't much, but it was honest work. Was it honest work for the guy that got you to reveal your seed phrase? Stay safe, my man. Gabe says, at Summit Tech, how did the new CPU compare to the 5800X 3D? Now, the cache definitely makes a difference. Not as much as you would expect on Raptorium, but I do got to run the full 24-hour test for Raptorium. I don't think that the Monero Ocean benchmark was really enough. There's a lot of testing that I still need to do. It's going to take a long time. How much of it is relevant for the channel? How much of it gets, how much interest is there? I don't know. We're going to have to gauge that because obviously there's a lot of other stuff, a ton of stuff to report on. So kind of up in the air as far as all that goes. Prospector says, ask Summit, hey, does ETHW and ETH Fair have to worry about the difficulty bomb? I believe so. I don't know where they're at with that. I think ETHW for sure. Ethereum Fair, possibly not. I'd have to look into Ethereum Fair to be certain on that. Steven with the $5 super chat. Thank you, good sir. Says, been mining a swap coin. Feels good to be back. I think everything there is good. Future for the project. Well, enjoy, pamping your coin and with the super chat. I hope it helps you out. Kevin says, ask Simon Tech, I'm investing in Bitcoin bullets and spam. Like spam? Bro, get some rice, bro. I don't know. Get a bow and arrow. Look, I started learning how to bow hunt. You know why? Because I can reuse an arrow. Can't reuse a bullet. Raymond says, that's Simon Tech. If you had free power, would you buy more GPUs or ASICs? GPUs. DK says, that's Simon Tech. Seeing how slow things are and how low viewer count is, do we want to talk about spec coins highlighted on locals and Twitch? No, not here. Because you never know. A lot of people like on locals and stuff are wanting to make sure that we keep it on the DL. Plus, I'm still testing. I haven't even announced anything on locals. Radiant's doing okay, though. But I'll probably shut off all the rigs here for a little while and only run them at night. So, yeah. Steven says, thanks for the $2 super chat. Says, Rice for the win. Rice? Yeah. Let's see. Daniel says, that's not a tech YouTube question. They just popped in 15-second ad. Why would they do that? Because I clicked the ad button. Because I was told and I realized that I wasn't getting paid for doing any of these streams. Unless I run an ad manually. So I run 3 ads. 2 of them at the very beginning while the timer's going down, and 1 when I first start Q&A. Which gives people time to ask questions, and then they watch an ad, and I make $13 on the video. I put a lot of time in. I'm going to take my $13. You know what I mean? Shiro says, that's Simon Tech, it was my honest work. However, I must admit they put quite some effort into the scam. It was really good. Patrick says, at Simon Tech, thanks for getting the new AMD testing it out for us. Helps me feel more confident with the 3900X investments. Yeah, I mean, I guess it, obviously like DDR5 is stupid expensive. All the motherboards are stupid expensive. And frankly, like if you look at the sales, like for the 7000 series, the CPUs, they're abysmal. So, you know, that's been pretty crazy. Like when some people were looking at some pretty high up, you know, usually retailers that sell out a lot, they're only seeing them sell like 40 units or something. Like, it's sign of the times, guys. And we do have to pay attention to that. Like, the economy's doing really poorly. It's getting worse. And that means that a lot of the luxury items, luxury things like upgrading your PC and stuff like that are going to start selling less. That is clearly what happened with it. Because frankly, the 7000 series is one of the largest leaps in CPU performance in a long time. It should have sold out. But it didn't. And why didn't it? Well, because the economy's in the shitter. Right? I mean, that's really the answer to that, right? If we look at this though, like, frankly, like the 7950X is like, it's so much better. It doesn't even make sense, right? T Scott says, at Simon Tech, what advice would you give someone starting a YouTube channel? General tips, like you're not going to be good. I'm still not good after like the amount of years I've been doing it. But like the number one thing, like as always, that I always say is like, it's just being consistent, but not for like, here's the deal, not for weeks, not for months, not even for years, but really honestly being consistent for a decade. Right. There are YouTubers that find success quicker than some. Maybe they have like other experiences that help them like get there quicker, right? But by and large, like the entire game of YouTube is just basically doing it more than anybody else. Like yeah, the game of YouTube is like putting in more work than anybody else. But it's it's not for everyone. Like even like sometimes like I'm just like, like how much work are we going to put in? Also, once you do get any sort of like followers and stuff like that, you got to have like thick skin, that sort of thing. I would say prepare mentally, like prepare your mental health for it as well, probably. Gandalf Gray says, outside of tech, you should do a video at 2 a.m. and just click the add button every 20 seconds, get more revenue. I don't think it'll work like that. Happy Dictator says, Ask 7 Tech, optical Bitcoin is currently mineable with heavy hash, setting up a node right now for mining. Yeah, it's been mineable for a while, Happy Dictator. Good luck on that. Let me know how it goes. Shia says, Ask 7 Tech, I got a question for new CPUs. Is it better to mine with or have like a server to run several nodes for different networks? Can't test it on my own, out of money. What do you mean, like, I mean, like, if you're on, like, a brand new CPU platform, like, well, Ryzen 3000 series and above, mining right now is going to be more beneficial. If you're on an older CPU or if you're on Intel, building, I guess, like a home server and hosting some nodes, maybe for your other processors, is going to be probably more beneficial. Something along those lines. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for watching today. Be sure to hit the like, comment, subscribe, and notification bell down below. And I will see you next Tuesday. Look at this. I got this set up for you guys. You can look at that beautiful hot mess.